The main thing is like everyone hops on it and they just are having a great time, and it's super easy. The sweet spots are all over the place. You can ride it forward, you can ride it with your foot all the way back. User friendly, it fits in little waves that you otherwise, are going to not want to surf that day, like all grovelers. The grovelers open up that end of the world where you don't want to, if you don't want to ride a longboard, you can still grovel, and it's real skatey and real loose.
So today I wanted to go over the new board. The reps had it. The thing looked really cool. Can you tell me a little bit about the whole outline, the bottom through the whole bottom and how it comes out the tail, and then that little step on the tail and what it's for?
Okay, sure. So the board's called the Spun Honey. I've never gotten so many solid reviews this early in the game from guys who've surfed it, from good, really, really, really good surfers to just classic cruiser guys. I have a good friend here who lets me stash my board in Costa Rica. My paddleboard otherwise is such a pain in the neck to get to the water, so he lets me stash my paddleboard at his house. And he's been riding one little 5.7, and so I'm really excited about the feedback. So the outline is a little more pulled in than the potatoes, the proper pure groveler sweet potato world. It's definitely more pulled in outline. And the tail is probably recognizable for people who've ridden a lot of the grovelers that I've made from the baked potato. And the baked potato was hugely, widely accepted board for a huge range of surf and surfers. And that was, I kind of wanted to get back to that diamond tail is what it is. And it has that nice little sharp point at the tip. The outline on the Spun Honey is a little more parallel outline, because we brought the baked potato outline in narrower and so it's not quite so wide and crazy groveler. So it fits into, I don't know if some people remember the Chumley board.
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah, and so it's meant to be between the sweet potato and the Dominator 2, or between the sweet potato and even the mashup. It's supposed to be a little bit more of a groveler than the mashup, and a lot more performance than a potato. So, and then that tail is a diamond tail, like I said. The bottom contour is just a slightly more advanced and refined version of the baked potato, with a little more double barrel up front, under your front foot, under your chest even as you paddle. So that was kind of a risky move, but the feedback was insane, so I kept it. And then that double barrel is set within the single concave again. I went back to that. The S-Boss and Boss Up have a double barrel that's real significant all the way through the whole front end of the board, all the way out the tail, but it's set within a V. This is still set into the double barrel inside a concave. And so that's those are the main features there. As it goes out the tail, I keep the concaves, and it's just a little more subtle on the back half of the quad fins or center fin. It just kind of mellows out a little bit there to not do too much grabbing or too many crazy things for the water flow out the fins and out the tail.
And then the deck on the tail, I think I remember, it kind of drops down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Is that to keep
right? And so that's a feature that I had in the baked potato. Yep.
Oh, no, go ahead.
It's just a feature I had in the baked potato. Yep. I had it in the baked potato, and then we have it in the really pronounced version of it in the mashup. And then, so I just went with that again. So what that does is it takes that. So the deck is flat. I like the flat deck because then your foot is nice and neutral. It's not a domey deck. Plus it also kind of like keeps a ton of volume out to the rail. And then that step drops it down rather abruptly. It's an old classic 70s drop rail thing. I don't know my history well enough. Embarrassingly, I don't know my history well enough to know exactly who did it, but that drop rail with that step deck is something that's been done a long time, and it's a cool feature. Good way to hide foam up under your foot, but not on your rail. So you pick up the board, throw it under your arm, it still feels like a sensitive rail, and it's not a big boggy rail that you have to tip real hard. You don't have to tip it over real hard. And then in order to exaggerate that even more and get more of the effect of a bladey rail, that's why it gets real pinchy and bladey and even more of a step out the tail of the diamond tail.
And what about the rocker?
Rocker's really a good, just basic neutral. I added a little bit more than the pure Grovelers, but not as much as the Dominator. It's probably really close to the mashup world, maybe a little bit less. I don't really exactly remember, but the numbers and that curve has been a curve that's been with me since 2007 when I did my first quad for Firewire, 2007. And that rocker, so the proportions of the nose to the tail hasn't really changed much in terms of the curve. The numbers change so I can flip it a little bit more, but the actual curve of the nose to the tail rocker hasn't really changed much for the Dominators and more Grovelers. Those types of boards have had this same rocker. It's a little bit more than a pure Groveler, but definitely a lot less than a performance board.
So I don't know if a lot of people understand, but when you put a single concave underneath your chest and then put the double, what does that actually do for the board as in terms of going down the line and tip it in on rail?
So the whole hope there, as my understanding is, by having the concave, you're getting a little more lift. You're getting a little more flutter on top of the water. And so that's the whole idea of the concave, is to get speed and drive and to get out of the water. And then in order to get it to roll over so it's not too catchy, you can do a couple of things. The main thing is the rocker. So you add the rocker so that it's not just a straight runaway train. You got the rocker so that you come off of the concave as you tip more onto the rail. The pressure of the concave releases a little bit, and then you get onto the rail. And then you're turning on the rail rocker. And so that edge is that you have on the backside by your fins, and the curve of the rocker and the outline all set into place so that you can roll it over easily. And that's a really important combination of what you're asking about with that concave and the relationship of where the fins are. And with even more important than the concave is where the fins and rocker interchange and how they work together so that you can tip it over easy. Because the point that you're kind of alluding to is it's such a wide board. How do you get it to make it so that it feels like it tips over real easily? And those are the tricks. You get the fins right, you get the rocker right, and you get the double barrel to feed over just to that half of the board so that it's not a big wide surface. You've broken the water line a little bit so that you can feed the fins with more water on that side that you're rolling to. Does that make sense?
Just like you said, yes. I remember when we did a sweet potato one, you said it's splitting the board.
Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, and more. There's other ways to do it, and there's probably a really cool way that we haven't even thought of yet, but that's what I'm doing so far.
So when there's a double barrel, it's kind of like having a little, like a little tiny spine that's not protruding past the rails. But is it pretty far up? And I know, like on your sweet potato, you like to put like a little V in the front, kind of. You were saying that it's based off of your prone paddle, yeah.
Yep. So this has a little bit of that up in the front. It's not as much because it's trying to be on the more performance-y side. And but the double barrel is meant to be real significant in this case so that it really feeds the quad fins. Or a lot of guys have been riding it as a 2+1 with like a MR type or a Kelly Endorphin twin, that 20 that he has. A lot of guys ride that with the smaller thruster, which is, to me, it's cool. It's crazy though. It's like I'd go pure quad myself, but the whole idea is that double barrel is to feed that side fin or quad setup that you have, so that you're pushing water through the fin on the inside of that fin and having it flow through quick, so that you can go faster.
And then the tail, with the diamond tail, what does that do when you're coming off the bottom? And does it, maybe you can explain what that diamond tail actually does for the board.
The hope there, so I don't think, so the rocker and the fins are going to be the most important thing. And that's what you're going to feel and get positive reaction from the most. When the outline is significant, but it's not the most important thing. But it is eye-catching in this particular design because the outline of the board along the fins kind of straightens out a little bit and then goes back to that point. And that point is hopefully going to sort of enhance the bite at a bottom or bite off the top, so that if you have a little bit more of a pivot point, like a swallowtail, like the mashup. And so many people like that design feature, whether they're riding fish, whether riding a swallowtail, and the diamond tail is just another way of doing it. For me, I like the diamond tail better as a surfer because I don't know why, but I like a round tail is my favorite thing. And then a diamond tail is kind of the best of both worlds in terms of mixing the swallow and the round tail by still having that at the very tip of the tail. It's pretty curvy. It's like a nice little hold, but you get that little break point off that little point on the diamond. That's the whole idea, thinking behind it anyway.
So that means it'll release a lot faster off the top versus
with more of a point, with a pivot point.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so you know, on a swallowtail, when you're taking off, I don't know if I'm right, but when you're taking off, it kind of bites a little bit and you can control, you know, you can kind of put on the brakes and just stall it a little bit more. Is that a little bit harder to do on a diamond tail?
Probably a little bit harder, but it's the same idea. You're trying to elicit the same function from a slightly different design. But yeah, you're spot on. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So you said you had a lot of feedback from people. What are the biggest thing that people are saying about the board?
The main thing is like everyone hops on it and they just are having a great time, and it's super easy. The sweet spots are all over the place. You can ride it forward. You can ride it with your foot all the way back. And so like my son is like a ripper, 25-year-old kid, rips and rides a shortboard, Dominator Pro and the DRK. He rides those. But then he hops on it and he really likes it. So when a really good surfer rides a Groveler and likes it, but then the guys who are like me and a couple of my friends that almost always ride just crappy wave boards and just small grovelly waves, when it really works well for them. I was watching my friend I was telling you about here in Costa Rica surf this crappy little wave that he and I surf because it's just by a bunch of rocks and no one ever goes there. But he's doing like 5 turns in the space of like 20 yards, you know? So
wow.
When it's user friendly, it fits in little waves that you otherwise, you know, are going to not want to surf that day. Like all Grovelers, you know, the Grovelers open up that end of the world where if you don't want to ride a longboard, you can still grovel, and it's real skatey and real loose. The fins, I'm really happy with the Spun Honey fins. I was really happy with those. I'd recommend anybody listening to start with your favorite front fins or quad thruster combination, but keep your front fins that you like the most. Hopefully by now, a lot of surfers are, you know, we're deep into the fin box world. So hopefully they have a favorite pair of fins, or at least one they are real familiar with. Start with whatever those are, and then start sampling and experimenting with other fins. But start any new board with your regular reliable fins so that you know what's the board and what's the fin, just as you learn a new board. And then if you are interested in new fins, I have the Man Cave Spun Honey fins that are designed with that are going really well with it. Both fins are really good. They're just a little different flavor, a little different, like it's like a different song. It's like what appeals to you in terms of your taste.
Can we pivot into the Spun Honey fins, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about it?
Sure, yeah. So they're cool colors, first of all, but second of all, the material is really important because I really am happy that we did fiberglass fins. Fiberglass fins are, you know, what we had back when you and I were kids surfing glass on boards. It's a known variable. There's nothing funky going on. They're strong, durable. I mean, if you chip one, it's easy to fix. That kind of thing. I really like the utility of a fiberglass fin, but I really like the flex of them. So in this particular fiberglass fin, the Spun Honey is it's meant to be a pretty long base, nose to tail. It's pretty long, but it's short in the water. It's not very deep into the water. So when it sits in the water, it's really close to the board. The surface area is about the same as any kind of large or medium set of fins. It's the same surface area, but it's low profile in the water. So it's up, and so it's meant to be pretty skatey and real quick, easy release. But on this fin, what I did was I made the tip real saucy and with a nice little hook, so that little skatiness can also have a little bit of hold right it's more of a pivoty fin on the pivot side of the world of fins, but it has that nice little tip where there's a little bit of rake, accelerated rake right off the tip.
Oh, interesting.
And, that's been creating some nice hold.
Does it have like a little, you know how like the YUs, you can't really find them around, but it had that little hook at the end? Is it kind of like that?
No, totally ripped that right off. I don't know who did it originally back in the day. Maybe it might have been a Parmenter designer, Rusty, but I don't know. But yeah, just having that. So it comes out and the top curve and the bottom curve on the template come together and there's a little saucy tip.
Oh, wow. And then on the rear quads, is it what kind of foil is it?
So 80-20.
Oh, okay.
And they're pretty straight up and down. I don't have much cant. They're like 2%. 2%. Yeah, 2%. 2 degrees. And then the fronts are 6 degrees.
Yeah.
I get that. Oh, I was just doing
know, but we all knew what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then the thruster, the rear fin, is it pretty much the same, just a little bit smaller?
Yep, exactly. Same template as the front two, and then just a little smaller overall surface area. The quads are the quad trailers are pretty. They're not as pivot-y as the man caves. Man caves have a pretty pivot-y fin to offset the rakiness of the front fins, but I probably shouldn't go into too much of that because it can get confusing. Hello, we got a little visitor here.
Oh, right on. Hey, what's up? Is that the neighbor's dog or something?
Yeah, neighbor's dog cruises over and she always wants water. She knows I'm a sucker. Cool. I won't give her any food, but I'll give her water.
Yeah. So the going into the other fins, the man cave, is that the same ones that we had from FCS and Futures for a while back?
Exact same, yes.
Oh man, I'm so happy because there's guys that come in, their old fins are getting all busted up and they want it. They want them. Yeah.
Good. Well, tell them because it's cool because those are also fiberglass as well. Same as the Spun Honey. So I really am stoked on how those have been working. So
I remember I did an interview with you on those fins, and you said it's kind of like a twin fin feeling to the fins. Is that right?
Yeah, because they're big, larger front fins, and then a small thruster, and the quads are pretty stubby and they're upright and short.
Oh.
So it's meant to be on the feeling of more of a twin fin feeling compared to like a real drivey quad setup where there's a lot of fin in the water. It's supposed to be a little more of a break and a pivot.
Yeah, I think your fins, the back center was smaller than most other thrusters. Yeah, which I think guys like because they can whip the board around a little bit easier and they don't have to be on the tail the whole time and they can still turn it.
That's me because like I don't always have the discipline to put my foot back enough on the backside of a big fin, so I need to cheat a little bit, and it's a good way to just kind of widen the sweet spot on the boards too.
Yeah. So with the fiberglass, is it thin enough that you can really feel the flex on them?
Yeah, but it's not bendy. It's not you can feel them load up, but it's not like a flexy gummy thing. Do you remember when FCS and Futures first came out? They had a plastic fin that they just gave stock standard, and then they started getting into all the tech. That fin was really noticeable in how much a fin actually bends. And so that the language around fins started getting into the flex and everything because we could feel how bendy a plastic one was. And so everyone started re-engineering back into, and now I'm so happy to just be on a fiberglass because that's a very known and it's a very predictable bend. It's not going to do the whole crazy bend like the plastics, but it's not something that's overly engineered or complicated with some of the composite fins. So I'm stoked. I mean, you can get those. A lot of people love those fins too. Don't get me wrong, but for me, to eliminate as many variables as possible is what I'm always kind of trying to do. And that's what the fiberglass allows for, I think.
So with the two fins, let's say you wrote it, let's say a Dominator, and you grab the Spun Honey and then you grab the Man Cave and you're writing it as a quad. What is the biggest things that you can feel? Well, what are the big difference when you're riding both of them?
So I would say that the front fins are going to be more noticeable. It's going to be a more of a front fin feeling. So how to explain that? Like the load and responsibility that you get from the fins is drive and maneuverability. You're going to feel that spread out throughout more of the fin cluster and the rail of the board with the Spun Honeys because it's lower and a longer base. And the man caves are going to be more deep in the water, more drive coming off that depth, and the overall surface area launching you more like a pivot point off the fins compared to all four fins, if that makes any sense. So the overall surface area of the two, if we're talking about a quad, the front fin and the quad trailer on the man caves, the surface area from front to back is closer together. There's less distance from the front of the fin where you're biting into a churn up front, and the back tip where the last thing to hit the water when you're driving down the line is the back of the back fin. That area from front of the fin to the back of the quad is shorter. That whole relationship is deeper into onto the board and the base of the Spun Honey. The front of the fin on the front fins is further away from the back tip. So it's more like like a keel twin versus an upright MR twin or a Kelly twin. So you're getting control and drive on an MR or a Kelly, and the endorphin twin fin. There's a lot of surface area, but it goes deep into the water versus a Liz Fish, that has a keel, more of a keel fin in there. And then
so the
keel,
Spun. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You get the drive. Yeah, it's okay. I hope I'm making sense, but you get the drive and the maneuverability and power from different places based on that depth and the length of the fin.
Oh, interesting.
Fin surface area. Yeah.
So on the Spun Honey, does it feel more like, like a, when you're on a shortboard, you just like tat 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 tat.
Skatey and drivey.
Yeah, and then the man cave is more like solid and just like holding through the turns and stuff.
Right.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Thank you for making it more succinct.
Not even. Not even. But I mean, that's like I don't know. That's a kid's version that I just said.
Good. We need it because I get it in my head. I'm like, can't explain how I feel. Yeah.
Oh, right on. Okay. So is there anything else that you want to add about the board or the fins?
No, I think everything's we hit it all. I'm just really stoked. The usability, user friendliness of the Spun Honey is probably the greatest thing, and just like always having a fun board with you. It's just another one of those. I'm really stoked on it. But I think we hit everything though.
This morning before we had this talk, I was thinking, oh man, I just remembered the poster that somebody sent me with our Hawaiian South Shore t-shirt on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so stoked because it's in the office and it's a huge poster with you
huge,
shaping.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Guy? But then I saw the shirt. I was like, yeah, cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. I
So
need a new
stoked.
one because it got resin on it. So I was like, okay, it's a shaping shirt now.
Yep.
But I'll come over and we'll get a new one.
Yeah. Right on, man.